Dr. Joe Alagoa is an associate professor at the Department of Environmental Biology, and Niger Delta University, Bayelsa State, Nigeria. His research interest is profiling of blood parameters of commercially important and culturable fish species in Nigeria. So it's my pleasure now to invite Dr. Joe Alagoa to take the floor for 15 minutes, please.
Good afternoon, or good morning, rather.
Good morning, good afternoon.
It's a pleasure to come live from the convenience of my home. I'll be talking today on the current and impending threats to fresh waters and marine waters. Now, let me just start by trying to introduce what fresh waters are. Fresh waters are waters that have salt content of 0.05% or 0.5 parts per thousand. Fresh waters are found in rivers, streams, even in groundwaters. Fresh waters are different from potable waters and are probably called sweet waters. They make up about 2% of the entire ecosystem, the water ecosystem. They are different from brackish and marine waters. Brackish waters are midway between fresh and marine waters, and they occupy a very small percentage of the total aquatic water systems we have. Marine waters, on the other hand, are waters that have salt content above 30 parts per thousand, or 3% salt content. They make up about 97% of the entire water bodies we have in the world. Marine waters are very rich because they have a very, very rich content of biodiversity. It is noteworthy to mention here that 25% of all the marine organisms we find are found in coral reefs, far and deep beneath the earth crust. Beneath the bottom of the river. Now, the title of it is a threat to the freshwaters and aquatic and marine ecosystems. So what are the present threats that we have today? We have what perhaps the most important threat to our marine ecosystem is the threat of pollution brought about by crude oil. Crude oil accounts for the greatest threat that the ecosystem faces. From records, we have that since 1978 to date, we have about 2 billion barrels of crude oil have been spilled into the aquatic ecosystem in Nigeria alone. Now, most of the notable spills that we've had in Nigeria have occurred even in fresh waters, though they have remained mostly unreported. Now, crude oil in the aquatic ecosystem results in a lot of problems to marine organisms. They cause fish kills, they cause deaths by suffocation, they break down the entire ecosystem. Fishes are unable to breathe, able to move around, and it causes a lot of depletion of fish stocks. This problem is further compounded by the multinational oil companies who use chemicals such as dispersants. Most of our multinational majors use chemicals such as Gold Crew, Corexit, and Alco-D to pour on the water in order to disperse this crude. And these dispersants by themselves are very, very dangerous. There are ample amount of literature to show that these dispersants themselves are even more dangerous than the crude oil in which they are trying to solve. Now, another problem or threat to the aquatic ecosystem is also the problem of invasive species. What is an invasive species? An invasive species is simply a species that is introduced into a new area that is not originally his. Whether it is both plants and animals, invasive species are known to come into that aquatic ecosystem to cause ample damage. The history of water hyacinth in Nigeria is known. When it was first discovered in 1984, water hyacinth has contributed to the destruction of the aquatic ecosystem. It has made the country to spend so much money. The Guardian of November 19, 2019 stated that the Senate was even probing that the NDDC spent 2.5 billion naira just to tackle the problem of water hyacinth in Nigeria. Also, invasive fish species that are introduced to a new area could go into that area and wipe out the entire fish stocks. In China, this year, it was reported that about 200 invasive fish species are depleting the original parent stock in China. Invasive species of fishes can be introduced into an ecosystem through different means. It could be by accident or by deliberate design. Accident, when we have our research institutes and our aquaculture centers who go and propagate new species of fish, hybrids that are unknown to the area, to the natural environment. Such species are Carriers garapinus, who go into the environment and wipe out the original parent stock because they have hybrid vigor and are stronger and are richer, in terms of their genetic makeup than the original parent stock. So the issue of invasive species is one major problem that is still pervading and is trying to affect the aquatic ecosystem. It's a big problem. It's a threat to the aquatic system today. Then the next problem I want to talk about is the problem of dredging. What is dredging? Dredging is simply the removal of bottom substrates for purposes of perhaps infrastructural development. You see a lot of dredging going on throughout the entire Niger Delta because of the quest to make the Niger Delta a modern, a modern city. They're trying to develop everywhere. So there's unrestrained dredging. Dredging has become an all-commerce affair. But dredging by itself has its own environmental impacts. Now, when you dredge the unrestrained dredging, you remove the bottom substrates and you thereby destroy the habitats for aquatic organisms to thrive. Organisms like the periwinkle, the Tympanotonus foscatus, they eat bottom substrates. Most of them eat dead and decayed aquatic organisms on the ground, leaves, dead plants and animals on the ground of the waterbed. They eat and they survive from it. When you dredge, you take away most of the substrates and there's nothing for them to eat. So you create a vacuum and a gap in the food chain. Also, fishes that eat those periwinkles, such as the starfish, are also starved of their food and their own source of livelihood. Dredging also in the short run causes a lot of increased turbidity as a lot of the substrates will be suspended in water. And you know what that means? There will be a lot of abrasion, there will be bruises on the fishes. There will be smothering of their body. Most of them who build nests using substrate on the ground, who do nesting, who build, there will be no more substrate for them to spawn. This is a very, very, very dangerous problem that needs to be checked. Dredging should be controlled by those in authority. Dredging should be controlled by those in authority so that it won't cause an irreversible environmental threat to us. Then the next one I want to talk about is overfishing. Overfishing is simply the harvest of fish beyond their potential to recruit. So when you have exploitation exceeding recruitment, then you have a screwed negative growth. Now, overfishing can be caused by the use of the wrong kind of gear. What do I mean by gear? The wrong kind of equipment. Nets with very, very small mesh sizes will catch fishes and prevent them from reproducing and recruiting. So there will not be any continuum, there will not be any continuity in their production rate. The net should be made of sizes, the mesh should be made of sizes that will allow the smaller ones escape from it. We also have fishing vessels coming into our waters with all those, their big, big equipment, a very effective gear. Their catch efficiency is very high. So they're coming to our territorial waters without permission to take all the fish, without provision for recruitment and for replenishing the stock. So this is a very bad threat that we are facing. And if this is not controlled, also the issue of making sure that some species of fish, some endangered species of fish are not exploited, such as the green turtle. The other day I watched on TV where a community in Bayelsa State, people went and harvested the greenback turtle for food, which is supposed to be under the protection and conservation list of fishes that should not be touched. So we find out that by doing that, in the long run, we'll have those fishes will go into extinction, and there will not be any such fish like maybe a greenback turtle in the future. The next one I want to talk about is noise pollution. The entire earth has become a global village where somebody sneezes in China and somebody in Nigeria catches cold. Now you find out that the whole oceans and the seas are all inundated with vessels who travel from one point to the other. Some of them moving necessary petroleum products, some of them moving necessary cargoes for housing, for transportation. The entire waterway is filled with noise of unusual sounds and frequencies. Now, most fishes are affected by noise. So this causes unusual migratory patterns. Fishes move from one area to another to escape the noise, because noise interferes with their breeding, with their growth, with everything about them. The entire ecology of fishes is affected by noise pollution. Then finally, let me talk about the issue of waste disposal. People dispose waste into the ocean as if the ocean is a sink that never gets filled. So you see a lot of non-biodegradables are thrown into the water bodies. And this waste are sometimes eaten directly by fish. You see rubber and plastics in the intestines of fish. A recent study I did in 2019 shows the presence of heavy metals even in the guts of the edible crab, Uka tangeri. You find out that some of these waste that are thrown into the aquatic ecosystems find their way into the fishes, and when we eat them, this waste becomes cancerous because they are all carcinogens by the principle of biomagnification and bioaccumulation. We get affected. So in the long run, it is we who are the human beings that pay the high price for it. Then also, the problem of siting waste dump sites, landfills around residential housing also contributes to the pollution of fresh waters. In my definition of fresh waters, I said fresh waters are waters that have the salt content of 0.5 parts per thousand or 0.05% salt content. And groundwaters are also parts of fresh waters. Now, when they dump waste, we cite a waste dump near residential housing, you find out that due to the principle of seepage, we have these heavy metals going down, seeping downwards to affect groundwater aquifers. Studies that have been done in 2018, 2019, I have published papers of heavy metals in water, 2020, that shows that they have copious amounts of heavy metals, very dangerous heavy metals, beyond permissible limits in potable waters and even in our nearby rivers and streams here. This is very, very, very unacceptable. And this is a threat that we must tackle frontally if we want to avoid the complete breakdown of our fresh and marine waters. It is enough just trying to state the problem, but we must also try and provide solutions to the issue and the threat of pollution. So what is the way out? One, the way out should be, the problem in Nigeria is not the absence of statutes. By that I mean the amount of laws to control pollution and the rest, but is the political will to drive it and to enforce it. Now, government should do more to control dredging by all comers. There should be a policy of government to control who and who goes into dredging in order not to inundate the entire coastal space with dredging machines and dredgers all over the entire littoral states of the Niger Delta. Two, the issue of pollution should also be tackled frontally. We have statutes. We have the Oil and Navigable Acts, Navigable Water Act 1969. We have the FEPA laws and so on. So it's not the absence of statutes, but it's the willpower to enforce those statutes. Then finally, I would also suggest that government should try as much as possible to implement the results of research that has been done in that field. It is not just enough doing research for the purposes of publication and documentation. Government should go into what has been done, research work, and try as a matter of urgency to take the recommendations of this research and enforce and publish some of these findings as policy documents to guide and protect the aquatic environment and our fisheries. Thank you very much.